We're live! What's up, everybody? Welcome on into this edition of War Chant TV. It's a recruiting chat because Michael Langston is here. It's a Michael Langston call-in show. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for returning. If you were with us yesterday, through no fault of anyone's, accord, not Michael's fault, not my fault. The internet went down, but we're back. It's okay. Bridge under the water. And Michael's another year wiser and smarter. How was your birthday after all, big guy?
Pretty good. Busy. I finished up some work, but it was a really good birthday. Had a good time. Appreciate, like I said yesterday, all the love, everyone. It was just endless. My phone wouldn't stop ringing, so it was a fun day. Had a good time. The only bad part was just what happened yesterday with chatting, but that happens. There's nothing we can do.
You got off work on your birthday, man. Be happy. But no, Michael wouldn't be happy. Michael wants to work every day, man. Michael's a workhorse, man. How's it? So, like, on your birthday, it's like being a 5-star recruit, and you just came back from an official visit. Your phone up. Like, how was it?
Yeah.
How was about it?
Yeah, kind of like that, and just just a lot of attention. But it was good just to get away from everything after I did all the work and just relax with the family and stuff like that. So had a lot of fun.
All right, well, we got a phone call. You'll never guess who it is. What's going on? Welcome on into the Michael Langston call-in show, warchant.com, Warchant TV. Who we got?
Hey, it's Gator Kirk. How y'all doing?
My man.
Number one.
You should be number one. You were your birthday yesterday, and you were still sitting there waiting patiently for about 15 minutes. But anyhow, hope you had a good birthday.
I appreciate that. No, everything was great. So what's on your mind, Kirk? What questions you got today?
All right. Well, I enjoyed the piece on that you had on Altmaier, and that got me to thinking is how important is it for recruits to recruit? I know we're a little down this year because we can't have camps and all of that, but how important is it for like those guys that already have committed to reach out to the prospects and things like that?
Well, Kirk, I think it's not as vital with every single position, but I think with your leaders of your class, like Brandon Jennings at linebacker, who's got potential 5-star status, and then even more importantly, your quarterback has to be able to get out there and get other people on board. That's the biggest position I look at when you're talking about being able to recruit. But a lot of these guys that have been in this class, we see it all the time. Joshua Burrell, there's several guys that are already out there, very active. Jordan Eubanks is very active with other recruits. I think it's more vital for quarterbacks or your top, mainly highly rated guys to help kind of bring other guys in, or guys that are popular around the nation as far as recruits. So it certainly helps you overall if all of them are doing it. But if you have a quarterback commitment, that's the one guy that definitely has to do it. And Luke's not a guy that's a big social media guy all the time. So it might be a little bit out of his comfort zone, but he loves FSU. He knows that's where he wants to be. And I think he realized, like, look, I need to be a little more aggressive, and I think he has, and certainly getting a lot of guys on board and helping with this class. But to answer your question, the main position I would say is the quarterback. You need that guy to really just kind of get the class going and just be that leader of the class.
All right, I appreciate it. You all have a great evening, and go Noles.
That's right. That is right, man. Thank you, Gator Kirk. Appreciate you. We can now get our day started, man. I feel good now. Yeah, the Altmaier piece is really good, everybody. Check it out, warchant.com. Use that promo code warchant30. Michael has the good breakdown of probably the bell cow of the 2021 class, as long as hopefully he can, not succumb to getting a new car from Alabama or something.
Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh.
It's a joke. It's just a joke. Everything's on the up and up. We're all doing this clean and legal, all of us.
We're gonna continue those. I'm gonna try to do one of those every other day just to get out with guys. And I'm gonna go down the positions. I'm not gonna hit up every single guy. I was gonna mention that to people. I mean, guys that are committed. I'm not gonna hit up every single commit, but the quarterback is really vital. So that's why I decided to do Luke.
I hear you. All right, man, we got another phone call. Let's go ahead and take it. Welcome on into the Michael Langston Recruiting Call-In Show, warchant.com. Got all of Seminole fans around the world listening in. Who we got?
This is JR from Atlanta.
JR from Atlanta. What's up, JR?
How you doing? As Michael, happy belated birthday, man.
I appreciate it, my man.
Doing good, man. What's going on, JR? What's going on in your world?
Just got off work, so wanted to first time calling me and tried to beat Gator Kirk, but he's always on time. So
nah, man, can't miss. Come for the king.
But, I know, right? I got two short questions. First one is, Michael, out of all the wide receiver recruits that we have either committed or that we're looking to get, who do you think is the closest one to Terry?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know if they have a guy yet that I would say that they're definitely recruiting that is close to Terry. Terry runs, is one of the fastest receivers in the country. He's 200 pounds. There's not many guys that run that kind of speed at 200 pounds and 6'4". So I don't know if there is a guy out there that I would say that is close to him. I would say the guy that I like the most is Destin Payson from Louisiana. I just think he does a little bit of everything. He's got length. He can pull away from people. He's got that big time speed and I think he's got the hands that we see Terry show. But I don't think there's a guy that you can say that's a replica of Tamarian Terry, at least not yet. Now Isaiah Brevard is another one. He's 6'5". He's got good wheels, but there's other parts of his game that can be developed and with route running and stuff like that. But so far, I don't think there's a guy that I would say is a replica yet of Tamarian Terry. He's pretty special.
Yeah, Terry's just a different animal.
Yeah.
How great he is. And the second question is, same type topic. Who do you think defensive back wise safety is close to Derwin James?
Derwin James, huh? Well, they don't have too many pure safeties yet. When you look at this class, there's several guys in there. Hunter Washington can play there. I think Kevin Knowles can play there, although either one of those could end up at cornerback. I don't think there's a Derwin James in this class or at least not yet that I've seen, because I would say if there's a guy that's like Derwin, it would be Terrion Arnold from over there in close to Tallahassee, over there at John Paul. He's got the length, he's got the size, he's got that speed that Derwin has. He's not afraid to come up and stick you. Certainly a guy that's going to be highly rated. And so if I had to pick one, if I was just really just pushing, I would pick Terrion. Terrion would be the guy.
That makes sense. All right, thank y'all so much. Y'all have a good day.
Thanks, JR. Take care.
Yes, sir. All right, now.
All right, Michael. Let's see here. Somebody asked if I have a new computer. No, not a new computer. No. Literally, it was my neighborhood, man. They did service. They took it down. Everybody was. I didn't even have cable TV. But it all worked out. We got another phone call. Who knows if we're even get to all the questions from our valued subscribers, Michael? We'll have to figure out a way to do that. But first, let's get to the call. Welcome on into the Michael Langston Call-In Show. Whole bunch of Florida State fans listening to you around the world on YouTube and various other channels. Who we got on the line?
My name is Chad. I'm from South Carolina by way of New Mexico.
All right. What was that first name?
Chad.
Chad. All right, Chad. What's going on, man? What's good?
Everything.
Right, good answer.
I like that.
Thank you.
What are you thinking about, Chad? What would you like to ask Michael?
What is the status of I think Sador Sanders is his name, and the Trigg?
I didn't catch the last one, the defensive end. What was the defensive end you were talking about?
No, the tight end.
Trigg.
Oh, okay. Michael Trigg. I got you. And Shadur Sanders. Well, I'll start on Shadur. Like I had started the earlier, Luke Altmaier is the guy that FSU has wanted and pushed for in this class. I have not heard that much buzz or interest even around FSU. I know, for those that don't know, this is Deion Sanders' son, solid quarterback. But at the same time, I think he's a better fit for a spread type system that, where the quarterback's going to run the ball more or fits more with that system. I don't get the impression that FSU's pushing there. I hear more about Louisville than I do any team. I think his stocks kind of drops too. So I think a lot of people want to see what he can do. He plays one of those smaller classifications in Texas. So I think a lot of schools are wanting to watch and see how he does. That doesn't mean he's a lesser of a talent or a prospect. I think he's a solid prospect. I just think it comes down to what your coaches are comfortable with. And Luke Altmaier, since they took over the job, that's been the guy that they circled, and they really haven't pushed for anybody else. Even when Luke committed, once Luke committed, I think they pretty much just shut down really pushing for a lot of other guys because they knew they had the relationship there. They felt this is the guy of the future for us. This is the guy that's going to be our future quarterback, and they haven't really pushed for anybody else. So it kind of speaks to what they think of Luke, and that doesn't take anything against Shedeur. Shedeur can throw. He can make all the throws you want. He's dynamic. He's a dual threat guy, but he's just a guy that I don't get the sense that FSU's pushing hard for. Now with Michael Trigg tight end, obviously he was upset or shaken about the Marvin Wilson Norvell tweet situation. I wouldn't read into that being the reason, he all of a sudden dropped Florida State or they're not in his top 10. I think he was already starting to get, interest from Auburn and LSU even more. Even LSU was really turning up the heat in Auburn as well. So I think there was already starting to be a little bit of a slip there. Kind of gave an indication when you saw these offers that FSU made offering River Helms, obviously the Shee kid at tight end, and then I think they've offered a JUCO tight end Kobe Gross as well, who's a guy that I could see in this class. So I think I haven't heard anything. Trigg was supposed to talk to Norvell, but I have not heard anything as far as about that call. I'm waiting to hear back from Trigg. I'm going to hit him up tonight and see if anything came about with that. But I think FSU was already starting to slip a little bit there because of all the other interest. But now the Wilson Norvell thing, probably contributed a little bit to it, but I don't really buy that. I think that was just more of an excuse to, kind of things were already slipping, so it kind of is more like an added notch to it. So I think FSU will still recruit him, but at the same time, as we've seen with FSU, with all the targets, they're going to get backup plans. They're going to have guys that they want that fit into the system, but they're not going to wait around for guys like Michael Trigg or guys. If you're not interested, they're not going to waste their time. So, we're going to see how interested Michael Trigg actually is as far as FSU. He says FSU's not in his top 10, but at the same time, his father's also told me that they're still in the picture. So not sure I buy that yet until I hear back from Michael. So there is work to do there, as far as getting back in it. But so right now, FSU's behind those other teams as far as Trigg. And if I had to pick, I'd probably say if I was making a pick, I would say Auburn. That would be the pick I would have. But I wouldn't completely close the door on Trigg until I get a little more intel on, just how that conversation with Coach Norvell went with when he talked to him. I think it was last week. So kind of waiting on that. Once I get that, I'll be able to tell you more.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chad.
You got it.
All right. Let's hurry up. Let me run over before we get another phone call. Somebody's asking about Amari Harvey. While I do that, Michael, you want to answer anything about Amari Harvey? Anything new on him?
Yeah, I think FSU's in a good spot there. I think they're the favorite. They look good. They've really turned around the momentum with that one, and I think FSU's the leader there. I think if they're going to get a local kid, that would be the guy I think that's the best shot with right now.
All right. Let's take a phone call, and then we'll get to our friendly folks on the PRB. Welcome on into the Michael Langston Recruiting Call-In Show. Who we got?
Carlos from Tallahassee. Wake up!
Yeah.
That's right. Wrong show, but we appreciate it regardless. Carlos, how are you, man?
Good. Thank you. Michael, switching gears out of recruiting, I've heard Corey Aslan, and I think everyone else's take on it, but two questions that go together. Who do you want to start at quarterback, and who do you think will start at quarterback?
Oh, Michael.
Who do I want? I don't know if there's anybody that I know I want. I mean, because we really don't know what all these guys can do. I mean, a lot of people don't talk about him as much, but I really like Tate Rodemaker. I like what he does as a passer. I mean, he is an accuracy. I love his accuracy. Obviously, throwing a freshman in the fire is a very dangerous thing as far as it's going in freshman year. But I mean, if we see this, I get the impression if we see the same thing that we see with Blackman with the accuracy issues, then that's going to be hard to justify him being the guy. Now, with all that said, I would think going into the season without knowing anything, as far as the situation, I'd say James Blackman would probably be the guy I've had to pick. But that's without knowing anything, knowing what Jordan Travis can do, knowing what Tate Rodemaker and even Chubba Purdy. A lot of people think that Chubba could get the job, but I think it's just wide open, and I think we don't know those answers until we get to see these guys consistently on the field. They only had a few weeks of spring practice, so that wasn't really enough to really dictate who's going to be what. But if I had to make a bet, I would say James Black.
All right, that's what I think, and I'm rooting for James to make his comeback. Thanks, guys. Y'all have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Carlos. Appreciate you, man.
All right.
All right, I'm going to turn the phone off for a minute just so we can maybe get a question from our valued subscribers over on warchant.com. A shout out to Mask HTHT for giving us $2 American for really nothing, man. Thanks. I appreciate that.
That's $2 more I had.
Yeah, so darn tootin', man. All right, let's get on over to the PRB, the Premium Recruiting Board, warchant.com. Use that promo code warchant30 if you're not a member. All these questions will be answered by Michael in some form or fashion, whether it's here on the chat or in the actual thread. Michael literally will go back and answer every single question, even after he answers them here on the show, because that's what Michael Langston does. Ryan Driss, 1, happy birthday, early, now belated. Second, Michael, do you think we still land another grad transfer offensive tackle, or has that ship sailed?
I don't think the ship sailed. I think there's several guys, between 4 and 6 guys that they're talking to. I don't think there's anybody serious like what it was with Jared Williams, where we knew for sure that FSU's heavily involved. I think Ezra Miller's a guy from Iowa transfer that certainly they would love to have and they're working on. But there's several other guys. I just don't know specific names yet as far as the guys that they're talking to. I don't think it's anybody serious yet. But I do think there's confidence from FSU that they're going to get one, or they feel they can get one. So that's kind of the feeling. Is it a guarantee? No, but the feeling is they can still pull one, and certainly they haven't let up on their pursuit of that. They're still pushing away, and I just have a feeling the way the connections all this staff has that they're going to be able to pull one. It might not be the one that everyone wants, but I think they're going to pull somebody. That's just my gut feeling, but we'll just have to wait and see if that does happen. But I just have a feeling they're going to pull somebody.
All right. Let's take another question here. FSU's biggest fan. If you could, Michael, could you give us some NFL comparisons for some of our 2021 commits?
Yeah, I think that's really difficult for high school kids. So now if you're asking me that for their freshman year, and then I could maybe compare them to NFL guys, but I think that's really almost nearly impossible to do for high school kids coming out of high school to NFL guys. I gave a few of those when the guy that asked about Derwin James and who's similar to him, and then guys like Tamari and Terry. I gave a few guys that have a few qualities as guys, but I think NFL comparisons in high school kids is really tough unless you're talking about the cream of the crop, and you actually have a feel for what they're going to do in college. So let's give that a little time before I actually dive into something like that. I just think it's really difficult for me to pop up names of that.
I hear. All right, let's take 2 more, and then maybe we'll open the phone line back up. Smiley Knoll, he's been around long time. How many grad transfers or JUCO offensive line prospects do you see FSU signing for the 2021 class. Touch a little bit on that, but.
Well, I think there are going to be a few JUCO guys. There's certainly, I think they would get 1 or 2 JUCO guys. And I think it's kind of like the 2020 class that we saw with the grad transfer. They got 1 with Deontay Taylor. They're pushing for another. So I think it's going to be the same thing where they get like 1 or 2 in that, as far as 1 or 2 in the transfer market, and then one or 2 in the JUCO market. I would lean more towards 2 in the JUCO market than the transfer market. It's really tough just to land two grad transfers for that kind of market. But they're going to be active with the transfer market. I said this before. They're not going to let up. They're not going to slow down. They're going to fill these needs that are question marks on their roster. We've already seen that with the guys they've added. I think 9 guys they've already added. So I don't think that's going to slow down. I think their pursuit is still going to be heavy. You could see, 2 offensive line transfers, in 2021, or you could see you might even be more than that. I don't know, but they're going to attack it until they feel comfortable with their situation. So I think it's going to be much similar to what we saw in 2020 with how they go after the transfers.
Let's do a little 2-for-1, Michael. Both come from BMOC 1955. He's been around since 2002. That's awesome. Thanks, man. Next to commit and latest with Andrew Jones.
Okay. Well, both of those are, I think, fairly easy for me. I talked about this guy earlier, JUCO tight end Gabe Gross out of California. He's a guy that FSU has pushed for. They've been talking with for a few months. Finally pulled the trigger on the offer this week. He's a guy I just think has always really liked FSU. There's other schools involved. I think FSU was the first offer for him as JUCO. So, and there's a lot of teams they're heavily involved there. But I just think Gabe could be the guy that jumps on board because he's just sold on everything. He knows how Norvell's going to use the tight end. He loves that. Linebacker.
Michael, did you say Gabe Gross or Kobe Gross?
Cody Gross. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I don't know why I said Gabe, but Kobe Gross.
Gabe Gross used to be a quarterback for Auburn back there.
My bad, Cody Gross. But he's a guy that they're really high on. And then with linebacker Andrew Jones, I addressed this subject about a month ago. Just for those that don't know, Andrew Jones committed to Memphis today. But I've already explained all this stuff where he's not a take right now for FSU and just about every school because they're waiting for him to get a test score. My feeling is he probably wanted to go ahead and have just a commitment before the season starts. Don't read into that as being, they didn't get their again. If he gets the test score, I feel very confident he's going to be a Seminole. That their connections are there. FSU's still going to recruit, and they're pushing hard for him. That's not changed. So the main thing I'm waiting to see is the test score. David Johnson has countless connections with that. I put a nugget up about a month ago in May talking about this very subject that he could commit to another school, but at the end of the day, if he gets the test score, I think he's going to be in this FSU class, and that will probably round out their linebacker class if they do get him. Now, the interesting question about this is going to be, what if they see another linebacker that they really like and decide to go? So that's the only way I think. If Andrew Jones gets the test score and still doesn't end up FSU, it means, I think they found somebody that was a little bit higher on their board that they liked. But I think of right now, if he gets that score, I like their chances of having him in this class. But if you go to War Chant, you go to the premium recruiting boards, you will see, my nugget on that from a month ago. I even addressed it yesterday. So I think I kind of explained everything that people could get. I know people had a hard time understanding. It was like, well, if he just took the test, why wouldn't he just wait for the score? Well, there's no guarantee he's going to pass that test the first time. So, and we don't know how many different things he needs as addition of the test score. Does he need to bump a little bit in the GPA? Does he need multiple test scores? We don't know. I just know he needs a test score, and every school that he probably has an offer from, except for Memphis, which I think might allow partial qualifiers, they accept his commitment. So it's just one of those things where I've talked about is like these kids want to get a decision done before their season starts. And then once the season starts, they know they can take visits. So Andrew Jones will be back on FSU's campus. They're not going to slow down their pursuit of him. So but my thread on War Chant, the Premium Recruiting Board, kind of explains all that stuff. But I would not close the door there. Just wait and see how he does as far as his grades. If his grades get where the FSU's comfortable, I think you're going to see a change as far as that commitment status.
Grant messaged us saying that UF apparently landed Dakota Mitchell. Is that someone Florida State was looking at? Only a 3-star, I believe.
Well, they already had several safeties in there. He is a guy that was pretty high on him before he committed to LSU, then decommitted. Florida was his dream school growing up, so that's not really a total blindside shock. I don't know how hard they were pushing. I didn't hear a lot. Even when he decommitted, I just heard that he was going to be a guy that's on their radar. He's not a guy that I heard like, oh, we got to go after and get this guy for sure. So I'm not sure they were as high on him as they were in the spring. I have not heard much about that, which is funny with Dakota. Dakota said he's going to go to the same school as Christian Leary, and then Christian Leary committed to Alabama yesterday. So it'll be interesting. I would not be surprised if that's not the last commit for a lot of these guys like Mitchell and Leary. So I think I can say early in the spring they were pretty heavily on him, but after that I didn't really hear a lot. Even when he decommitted, I didn't hear a lot. I just heard he's a guy that they're looking at. Yeah, he's on their radar. So besides that, that's really all I have as far as Dakota Mitchell goes.
Phone lines are open back up, 850-792-5730. We'll take maybe a call or two, maybe some messages here on YouTube. We'll go back to the PRB here. Champ G in the meantime, Michael asks, what's the deal on Mitchell Evans, and who do you feel is the leader for Chambray Jackson?
Mitchell Evans, that's a new one to me. I don't know him. I'd have to research that one.
Some tight end from Ohio.
Yeah, it might be a guy that they've been talking to briefly, but I'll check on that. I don't know for sure. Yes, I do feel FSU is the leader for Chambray Jackson. I think Luke Altemeyer's story kind of hinted at that, but I think things have been trending for FSU in a positive way for a while, and he's one of the biggest targets for them as far as that defensive end position. He would be massive for that class to get a guy like Chambray. So yeah, I do think FSU's has the edge for Chambray, and I will research some stuff on Mitchell Evans. That's one that's kind of new to me, and but I will check around.
I'll take a 6'4", 235-pound defensive end who's in high school right now. I'll take that.
Yeah,
I'll take that. Another question from YouTube, Mr. H.A. Double. Hey, Michael Langston, I'm from Maryland. My question is, do you think the offensive line will be better than it was the last 2 years with some of the premier talent they've picked up?
Well, I think this year it's kind of hard to make a determination how much better. I think there'll be improvement. I think they'll improve a decent amount from what they were last year. I mean, they were pretty horrible, so it's hard to not only go up as far as what they were last year. I mean, they just had really struggles consistently as far as keeping guys healthy, finding the right unit that works. So I definitely do think they'll be better. Now, I think people also need to give Atkins time to work with these guys develop. I think they're going to be developed really well. I've already said my feelings about Alex Atkins, how I think he's one of the best additions on this staff. I mean, he is a rock star. He's very good at what he does. He knows how to develop guys. He knows how to put them in the right position. He knows to get the strength, what strengths to get out of his players. And I definitely think you give him a few classes, this guy's going to have this offensive line situation, I think, in a much better position.
All right. Look at that, man. We got some dude from Russia. St. Pete in the house. St. Pete, Russia.
Okay.
Let's go back to the PRB. I'm going to see if we can find a question. We got a whole bunch of questions. I assure you that. Just me trying to find one that's not too crazy. Somebody, Jay Gurman, asking about 2022. I don't roll like that.
Well, we do have some stuff coming up on 2022, guys. I mean, I know a lot of you have questions. I just finished this thing today. It was it's a breakdown of targets. It's almost like a mini hot board for you guys. So I couldn't get a full hot board because we don't know how many I don't know how many they're gonna take at each position yet. But there's several guys on there that I basically pinpointed the guys and featured the guys that are going to be major targets. I did every single position. It's going to be 25 targets to watch. I had them all together. It's going to be 25. Probably start with the offense. We'll do position. It'll probably just be all offense, and then we'll show the defense. But that is coming up, guys. I will cover every single guy you even can think about that FSU has interest in. This was not easy, I can tell you. There was a lot of recon work. There was a lot of checking, checking with my sources and, contacts close to kid, contacts on the FSU side. So this took some time, but I think people are going to enjoy it. It's going to give you kind of a feel that something that nobody's given you as far as, the future class and the targets they're going to go on after. So that's coming up. So just be patient. It's coming.
All right, back to the PRB, rookie baby. In your opinion, I think he was trying to say, of our current commitments, which players could get a little bit of a bump in the new rankings, or who do you see out of our current commitments that you think are ranked a little too low?
I think one that jumps out to me on defense is Kevin Knowles. I think that's a 4-star kid when I watch his film. He's a phenomenal player. He's one of the best cover corner guys in South Florida. He can play corner or he can play safety. It's just going to depend on where FSU needs the most or where they feel the best fit is. So I think he's a guy that can play one position. I think he's ranked probably too low. He probably should be a 4-star. And then the other guy, I think he has been mentioned a few times, Luke Altemeyer. I think his ranking's good. They have him a 4-star. I think he probably could get a little bump up as far as his ranking up. And then another guy is a local kid, is Joshua Farmer. He's a 3-star defensive end, but I think he's a guy that has really impressed the rival staff. I think he's a guy they want to see during the season, just to see how he looks during the season, if he matches what they saw with the camp scene. But I think those guys are a few that I see off the bat that I think could get bumps. And there's more. If I could go down the whole list, I would, as far as the commits, but there's several on there that are, up there for, bumps in the rankings. Those kind of jump out to me, just right off the bat. I would say those are the ones that I would say a bump is probably likely.
How about my boy Jackson West, already up to 3 stars?
Yeah, high 3-star. Chad likes him. Chad Simmons likes him a lot. Chad's, I think, seen him, so I think he's a guy that already got a bump up with a high 3-star. I think a lot of these guys that we're watching or we're looking at the screen as far as the commitment screen, they have a chance to bump up to that 4-star status. I've already covered DeQuavion Fuller, who's down there. I'll be surprised if he's in this class. The rest of them, I think, are pretty locked in. Amari Cooper, that's another one that's got 4-star potential and skill set. So he committed a few weeks ago. Very good cornerback that I think FSU's been high on for a while. So there's several guys in that list, and I try to tell people, don't get locked into what a ranking says in May or June, because those are kind of just the initial putting them on the map type of rankings. And then once you get to the season, then you really get the full evaluation, which is always said the best ranking is at the end of the year when we're getting close to the All-Star games. Then you get a full thing because they've seen the whole season. They can go back on film. You can really, you've seen these guys live. I think that's when you get the most accurate evaluations is, later in the season or close to the end of the season and All-Star games, where that's what I would truly worry about the rankings. That's just me. So.
All right, let's take a question from Facebook. Joel Lob, 2 Bs. He means business. What about that Collier kid from Miami Palmetto?
Yeah, Corey Collier Jr. That's I obviously a legacy, an old legacy. Corey Carter Sr. played at FSU. The key I'm looking for is like, I know FSU wants him. I know FSU's interested. Supposedly, everything I hear from people in that Palmetto area and people from the FSU side of things, they insist that Corey is very high on FSU. Obviously, Miami and Florida, the other teams that we hear a lot about. Georgia also in there as far as the mix. But my thing is, until he visits, I'm really not going to. I'm not locked that much on Corey Collier. Now, I will say, if he visits like he says and follows through what he's doing, I think you're going to see a massive shift as far as the leaderboard for him. I think FSU is going to immediately jump way up because I think he already knows he grew up a fan of FSU, so that's a team he's liked growing up. So I think when you get these kids on campus and they see a different feel and they see how Norvell's going to run things, we've seen how things just shift, especially with a kid that grew up a fan of the school. So that's what I'm waiting for. When he visits, that's when I think there's going to be a shift. But that's the point I'm waiting on. Are you going to visit? Are you going to follow through with what you say you're going to do? And if he does that, I think there could be a shift. But right now, I just think FSU is on the outside looking in behind Miami and Florida.
All right, take another question here. Comes from XDQ004. Happy birthday, Michael. I know that there has been a lot made of Trigg not having us in his top 10 and us needing another tight end in this class. My question is, I really like 2020 tight end prospect Marquis Douglas. He is 6'6", 260, speed, mitts for hands, and a red zone nightmare. I know he's raw, but am I missing something? The kid looks like a larger version of Antonio Gates, another basketball guy who didn't play high school or college football, but will go down as one of the top 5 in the history of the position. Please provide some insight.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're off. I mean, I think he's a guy that this staff loved. I mean, I think Mike Norvell in his booster wrap-up for the recruiting class said that Marquis Douglas was the steal of the class. He felt like that was the biggest steal they had. Athletic, big mitts, can catch everything, very good speed for a tight end. He's very raw as far as route running. He's very raw because he's mainly a basketball player that transitioned to a football player. We don't know how he can block, so technique-wise as a route runner and technique-wise as a blocker, obviously that part's going to have to be developed. But you can't teach the skills that he has, as far as athletically, the things that he can do athletically and the things he can do in pulling away from guys. I think there's one clip of him having an 80-yard touchdown. Not many tight ends I know in high school that get many 80-yard touchdowns. So he's certainly a guy athletically as a receiver is going to bring a lot of excitement to, this FSU offense. He's a guy that's connected with David Johnson. They don't get him without, Coach Johnson. And I think that was a big deal. But this is a guy that I think if he didn't end up at FSU and David Johnson didn't leave Tennessee, he probably would have ended up at Tennessee. So he's just a guy that David's always liked. As you can see, a lot of these clips, he just athletically just separates from a lot of these guys and just sometimes runs them over and just breaks through tackles. So athletically, he's off the charts. Yes, he's raw. Yes, there's going to be things you have to develop with his game. I think here's the 80-yard touchdown catch on the clip. But as you can see, just his speed, the way he can just pull away from guys and fight through tackles. So impressive athlete, and Norvell calls him the steal of the class, and I like him a lot too. So I think he's going to have a promising career at FSU.
All right, let me see here. All right, let's go to this one. Honey Fried Pickens has got the question over on the PRB, Premium Recruiting Board, warchant.com. Use that promo code warchant30 if you're not already a member. Happy birthday, Michael Langston. You are the best in the business, and thanks for taking my question. With the obstacles presented to the staff this season, how impressed have you been with this staff's recruiting? Can you provide examples of what they are doing well? You've seen multiple staffs recruit, and I appreciate your insight.
That's a good question. Honey Fried Pickens, I don't know how to say it, but that's a really good question. And yeah, there's plenty of examples. I think they're doing a really good job when you look at the talent they're recruiting. In the valuations, I go back to the valuations. I've said this before. FSU was on Luke Altemeyer before anybody, as far as just really pushing. Then Alabama comes back and offers them. Then you have other examples like tight end River Helms. FSU offers him. Then a week later, Georgia offers. So their evaluations are really good. Then we see the Jordan Shee kid. FSU offered him, and then later that week, Alabama also offered him. So it tells you about their evaluations, that it's on point when you're talking about schools that do a really good job with evaluations in Georgia and Alabama. So I think those examples speak to it. I think Andrew Jones is another one. They know he's committed to Memphis. I've already explained the test score situation, but he has offers from Georgia and Mississippi State. There's countless offers on the Arkansas. I think Auburn's very, very involved there. So I think their ability to evaluate these kids early on, and then seeing all these other big time schools follow suit, kind of tells you about their evaluation process. And what I like about what this staff does is they don't just, okay, we got our top targets, we're just going to go after those guys. They don't just let up after they go those guys. They go evaluate and spread their net way wide. But the net only works when to spread it wide when you're getting guys that fit everything that Norvell's going to do in this offense or defense. I mean, that's the thing I can say is when every kid they've offered, I could see that guy, playing in FSU system. It's like a lot of people were surprised when they offered Catravian Hargrove over there as a Louisiana Tech commitment. And then now several schools are trying to get involved there. I think Penn State just offered them. So they have a really good feel for what they want in their system. And they're not going to get away from that. They go after a lot of 4- and 5-star guys, but they go after guys that are going to fit everything with their culture, their character, their position, and the things they're going to bring to that position. I think Norvell and them do an excellent job of evaluating. They don't just settle. They don't just go after bodies. They're going after guys that they think physically, mentally, and on the field that they're going to help them on the field. These are guys that can play at FSU, not just, oh, well, we need 2 tight ends, so let's just fill a void. It's like no position do they fill a void. They go out there and get the best, the guys that they know can compete and play at a high level at Florida State.
Right on. All right, let's take another question from the PRB. It comes from P:07. With Jones being dismissed, that'd be Cornell Jones from Purdue.
Yeah.
Miami Central originally. Any development or chatter about filling his spot with another grad transfer linebacker or maybe another grad transfer guy?
Well, I think they would like to do that. I think that would be the preference. I think one guy I've heard is Charles Wiley. He's a linebacker at Ole Miss. I think he said he's transferring, so he's in the portal. So he's a guy that they could possibly go after. Kudos to our YouTube subscribers. One of them asked me about Charles like a few weeks ago, so he was on point with that. But Charles is a guy that could possibly be that guy. Now I haven't heard FSU put a push on yet, but that's a guy that I've seen that could take a strong look at FSU. He knows Marcus Woodson. He knows several of the coaches. He's a guy that could end up playing that position as far as outside linebacker and / defensive end. So we'll just have to wait and see if FSU does make that push. But I think they would prefer adding another grad transfer guy because they want proven depth. If they're going to add another guy like a transfer, they want guys that can come in and help them and guys that could kind of fit. Like I said, they don't just take anybody. The fit has to be there as far as what they're looking for. And but yeah, it's possible. But who they get, I'm not quite sure.
How about this one? Garnet Guy, been around since March 29, 2002, H-Town. That's awesome. We have a lot of defensive backs on the roster. Why are we taking so many this recruiting cycle? I would think there are other places where the need is much greater, like defensive tackle, defensive end, and offensive tackle.
Yeah, there is. Those are bigger needs, but they're also pushing for them. I mean, we already said that defensive tackle, they're probably going to take four, could be 5. Defensive end, covered, some of those guys. Those are positions that are key. In offensive tackle, that speaks for itself. That situation, they're heavily aggressively going after those guys. But I think defensive back, I think people forget. Asante, excuse me. Asante Samuel is the only pure starter. Like the other side, you don't know who's going to be the starter. You have Akeem Dent that could be there. Obviously, Travis Jay is going to play into that situation. Miko Dodson, the defensive back they just picked up from FAU in the transfer market. So those are guys that are a possibility, but you also lose several guys, and who knows if these guys are going to go pro. Defensive backs are a position that you have to load up, because if you don't, when you have a chance to load up on elite guys, you have to get them at safety. You're going to lose, I think, Nazardine after this year. I think there might be a few more that are graduating or possibly turning pro. So you have to prepare for these guys to party. You can't just say, okay, when these guys are gone, then decide you're going to go recruit safeties and corners. You got to prepare for it because you play so many, especially with how the defensive backs are going to be used in this defense with Fuller. A lot of the safeties and corners are going to be interchangeable. So there's going to be a lot of shifting. So you need a lot of guys, and that's why I think they're taking so many guys. But I think with the addition of Miko Dodson and Jaron Jones, I believe, from Mississippi, these are guys, they want somebody that can come in there and that is a veteran that can play, that can help them. And like I said, every position, no matter what's big or what's small, they're going to make sure they address every kind of weakness that this team has. And I think they're showing that the defensive back position where they recognize, okay, we have Asante Samuel here, but who do we have on the other side? So we need to make sure we have some veteran guys in there that are going to help us. Plus the guys that are leaving, you have to prepare for those guys and get guys ready as far as talent in there to. So when you go into that next season and losing those guys, you're going to be ready. Those young guys are going to be ready to contribute.
Let's take another question from the PRB. Seminole Pass Rush 1. Happy birthday to you, Michael, that is. The two most important positions of need in this recruiting class is offensive tackle, weak side defensive end, or pass rush specialist. Where are we at with those positions? Who are we sitting in good spots with?
Well, I'd say the same thing I said yesterday. We just released our hot board. Everything is laid out right there for every position. I think the offensive tackles, I talked about some of those guys. Rod Orr is one that I think there's a good shot with. Obviously, Jacoby Jackson was another, but he's committing on Friday, so that probably eliminates FSU. So I'd say TCU probably for him right now. But as I've told people many a times, these kids are going to commit, but it just doesn't change that they're going to take visits. Like Garner Langlow committed to Auburn. There's several guys that have committed that FSU is heavily involved with that I wouldn't really pay a lot of attention to commitment, because these guys are just starting the recruiting process again. They're going to visit FSU. There's going to be a lot of guys on campus that are visiting that FSU, either new targets or old ones. I'd love to tell you FSU leads for an offensive tackle. I cannot do that because there's not a clear-cut offensive tackle for sure that I know they lead for. Defensive end, I've already covered Chambray Jackson, and not to condescend, guys, but the hot board is right there. I got every target in there. You read the bios, it will tell you exactly these guys are the ones that they're high on. I think I covered it's about as detailed as I can. I'm going to do follow-ups on the hot board guys just to make sure something hasn't changed, but I think everything in there will give you all the answers you want.
All right, let's keep it with the PRB. We also got the phone lines open, 850-792-5730. We actually just got a text message. We'll read the text message after this one. Smith SDFL, or maybe it's Smith's DFL. Some analysts claim commitments are occurring earlier this year. There could be more decommitments later. Do you agree with either or both contentions? And assuming a better 2020 for Florida State, let's say 8 to 9 W's, do you foresee any of the current null commits not coming? Well, why would they not come if there's going to be a better record in 2020, Smith?
Yeah, I mean, there's a larger, I've covered this several times, but there's been a larger volume. Like I said, there's double you've doubled what the commitments are. Usually you have around 300 this time of the year. You know, I think are well above 700 commits now. So yes, there's a lot of kids, and I would say majority. I won't say majority. I would say a good portion of them are commits that are just they're place setters because this is the school they're most comfortable with. Basically, this school is the school that's leading for them right now. So I don't buy into the commitments right now. There's going to be a big decommitment season. I feel pretty confident about that. I don't think I've hashed that out on these recruiting chats for a while that I'm expecting guys to decommit. When you're talking about kids that are committing to schools that they haven't even visited yet, that kind of leaves an opening that when these guys start seeing other schools, it's a possibility that they change their mind. And I mean, kids, we've seen it every year. Kids decommit like at a high level. What do you think and those are kids that visited all these schools. What do you think these kids are going to do that haven't visited any schools, and then they get a chance to visit? They're going to open things up, and there's going to be decommitments. So yes, to your question, there's going to be a lot of decommitments. And then with the season, obviously I've said that impacts a lot of these FSU recruits because there's nothing that they can base them on as far as except for what Norvell's done at Memphis. So I think a lot of these kids, if they go out there and see a really good product, doesn't have to be a 10-win season product. It just has to be an improved product of, man, they're just missing me. If I'm in that defense, I think I can make a big difference. Or I'm a game changer on offense. I think I could really help them at either tight end or receiver or the 4 H-back position or just the running back position. Man, if they had me, I think I could really take this team to another level. So I think the product changes, it automatically gives you a major shift upward as far as recruiting. And I think that will happen. We'll watch for how the product looks, but if the product is better, there's no doubt their recruiting is going to definitely improve.
How about this? Oh, never mind. The same one. I forgot to scroll down. But hey, we do get the text message. Okay. I'm not going to pull it up because it'll show the person's phone number, but they seem to be lamenting 5-star wide receivers. Alabama gets another Florida wide receiver stud. Will FSU ever get these guys to stay in state? No in-state loyalty at all. Hurts.
Florida is not like other states, guys. It's like the Florida, and this has been, even when FSU was great, yes, you can contain this, but as I said, I've said this earlier this season, you have to have 2 teams in the state of Florida that are doing well. Right now, you have one. Florida is doing really well, but Florida doesn't have what I call like a incredible recruiting staff as far as coaching staff. So they're getting a lot of these kids because of wins and what they're doing on the field. Miami and FSU are in the same boat. Both of them had average seasons when you look at what they want to accomplish, what they want to be. I think when you have 2 teams in state, that's going to heavily limit these kids from leaving the state of Florida. Now, there's still going to be some that leave. Regardless, there are always going to be some that leave. But once you start having two or three teams be good and they recruit very well in the state of Florida, you're going to see a lot more of those kids stay home. But right now, that's just the problem they're going to face is Alabama and Clemson and those teams are going to go in there and take kids because they're 2 of the most consistent programs in the last 5 years. Those teams are almost consistently in the national championship when you watch. So kids see that, and the only way you change the narrative is you go out there and you show a different product on the field. Recruits want FSU to be good. I mean, I can't count how many times I've heard that, but at the same time, I think you'll see a slower exodus of the state of Florida when the product has changed for at least 2 of the in-state major programs. But until that happens, and even then, I don't think it's going to completely shut it down. But until that happens, I think you're going to see this continue where Georgia, Alabama, and Clemson are all going to the state of Florida and getting some guys.
Brandon on YouTube just brought this to our attention. Says, FSU Instagram now. White numbers, Michael. Look at that.
Whoa.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Look at that, everybody. It's happening. It's happening.
Happening fast, too.
Yeah. Well, Willie said it at the kickoff last preseason that white numbers are going to come back in 2020. Although, I don't know, that looks a little like mustardish, doesn't it? Like the outline around the numbers. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, actually, I kind of like it. It looks a little bit like the 90s. Or
It's white, Aslan. That's the main thing. People wanted white numbers. They didn't want to be looking like Boston College. I mean, that's the main thing. So there you go. Breaking news on a recruiting chat about the numbers. So
shout out to Brandon. All right, let's get back to the recruiting. Dude, I was going to get back to the recruiting questions, but you've answered all of them. Like you went today on your birthday, even though this thing went bust, and you answered every single question. So I don't want to like be repetitive, but there's a couple new ones here.
Okay.
I'm going to flash back over to it here, and it's I think Noel War Daddy. He's got a really cool name. Noel War Daddy 1424. Why is there such a big trend towards 3-star commits lately? Is it because we have a new staff and need to win games? Or does the staff think they can develop 3-star talent?
Well, when you come in there the first year, you're going to have to grind and get 3-star talent. You're going to have to, but this thing's a catch-22 because you're asking this question in the month of June. What's to say all these guys, or a lot of them, turn out to be 4-star? If they're 4 stars, is that okay? Is that okay? The talent? See, that's why I focus more on the skill set and the talent, more so what the ranking has. But I will say when you go into your first year, you're looking for guys that are going to help you. Yes, the later part of your question, they are going to need to win games to get the Rivals 100 and Rivals 250 guys consistently. But the thing you need to do, whether it's a 3-star or it's a 4-star, whatever star it is, you have to get guys that you feel, I know for sure this guy can come in here, he can help my offense, he can help my defense. You can plug them in. These guys know exactly what they're walking into. They bring the work ethic that you're looking for, and that's the kind of guys that they're looking for, is the fit. And then when you show the different product, you're going to get those 4 and 5 stars, as far as when you show the product on the field. But I would not read into the trend of 3 stars because it's freaking June. So, I mean, these rankings are going to
really, Michael, how do you really feel, man?
I mean, it's just, I hear it all the time about the rankings. So it's kind of like, it's just counter. I just don't understand. I understand people's reaction to the rankings, but it's like these rankings don't matter, until late. I can understand it mattering later in the year, but at the end of the day, it's about the skill set and the talent and what they do and what they fit and where they and the guys you're getting. There's so many talented players in there that are 3-star, like Joshua Burrell. He's better than some 4-stars I've seen. Kevin Knowles, the same thing. He's better than some 4-stars I've seen. So you have to look at the talent and don't judge these guys of what they're ranked right now. Judge them later in the year when everyone has a chance to evaluate them, and then you can kind of go on the 3-star tangent, or 3-star U, as some fans like to call it on the PRB. But I think it's a little early to get into the discrepancy of the rankings or some pattern or trend, because 3-star, or what their star ranking is right now, I would almost bet those are going to change.
Well, let me ask you something, Michael. Do you think some of this sort of anxiety and trepidation from the fan base is because not even so much that they're getting 3-star commitments mainly, but they don't seem to be in the mix for a lot of 5-star guys? They were swinging and missing, but it's like, it feels like, I don't want to put words in people's mouth, but at least for me, it doesn't seem like they're swinging for 5-star guys.
No, they're swinging for them. They're swinging for Rivals 100 guys. Guys like Michael Morris, they were after Amarius Mims. They're definitely after. He's a 5-star. They're after several 5-stars, and I think people will see how the trend's changing this is another reason why I did that 2022 piece that's coming out. There are a ton of 5-stars and there are a ton of Rivals 100 guys in there. They've already established relationships with these kids. So people will see kind of the shift that I'm talking about once kids see you on the field. And I've said this before. These kids don't have anything to base FSU on except for their relationships with the staff and what they did at Memphis. So I think what irritates fans is they see Memphis and they think he's recruiting the same guys that he recruited at Memphis. And that's just completely false. Like, he's recruiting a lot of high 4-star, even 5-star guys. They're not landing them, but they're recruiting them. Terrence Ferguson is a Rivals 100 guy. You know, they're pushing for these guys, but at the same time, you have to go after guys that you have to push heavily for guys that that fit everything you want, but also guys you can land. And that's the point people need to understand. It's going to be a grind, and it goes through that with first-year coaches. Matt Brown went through that last year. Yes, he flipped Sam Howell, and he got a few guys, but it took a while where kids need to see their program. Now, I think North Carolina is like in the top 5 in recruiting this year because kids saw what they are. So kids need to see what Norvell's going to do, what they're going to look like, what their defense is going to look like, what their offense is going to look like. Now, the good thing about what Norvell can sell is why I think he'll get some 4-stars in this class, to finish everything off later this year is their production at the running back and receiver position when he was at Memphis is one of the best in the country. So they'll be able to sell that hard. And all it takes is 1 or 2 games where you go out there and say you play the West Virginia game and you show that, basically what you did at Memphis, and you're explosive and your playmakers are explosive. Kids are going to attract to that, and they're going to want to come to FSU, and that's a place they're going to want to visit. So, but I would say people have to have an understanding of the situation. The situation is kids don't know what they are right now. And it takes time, but they are recruiting high-ranked kids. I mean, for anybody that says they're not recruiting high-ranked kids, that's just false.
All right. I've said it a couple times. My bad. Perpetuating the myth.
That's okay.
All right. So we're done. We're done about an hour of this. Very well done. A whole bunch of more questions over on the PRB, but Michael's already answered. If you want even more insight, use the promo code WarChant30, join warchant.com. Michael, again, you said hot boards galore, maybe even a look into 2022, and obviously that Luke Altmaier feature, all featured right now over on the website.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do those things as far as I call it checking in the targets for the 2021 class. I'm already in the process. Right when I get off the horn with Aslan here, I'm going to start hitting up some kids, to do another feature on checking on the targets. As I mentioned, 2022 target breakdown. That's basically going to be a mini hot board, and you'll see what I'm talking about once it comes out. Features some guys to kind of watch. There's some on commit watch. There's some that to look forward to as far as jumping on this class early. So that's going to be extremely detailed. I don't think anybody in the country has anything like what you're going to see with that. And then we've already done a recent hot board. I'm going to do follow-ups on those guys, check in with them. But that's kind of why I do want to do the check in the target. So it's going to be very busy. And don't forget, we have our feature coming up too on the breaking down the offers this week. I think there's a lot of key offers that FSU's done. I think there's 6 already this week. So I'm going to cover that very soon. That could probably be up tomorrow. So that's something to look forward to. There's several new offers that I think impact the 2021 class. So we're busy and we're going to keep cranking it.
Right on, man. Again, use the promo code WarChant30 if you're not already a member of the Ultimate Seminole Sports Source. PRB, Michael practically lives, breathes, sleeps, eats it in there. Post your questions. He'll always be there to answer them. For Michael, thanks for listening. I'm Aslan. Have a great one, everybody.